Hey, what's going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video on Marvel Strike Force here today on Thursday. And have you been thinking about Mephisto? Don't worry, I haven't really been either. But there's some brand new news coming out today that talk about buffs coming to the character. So if you haven't been working towards Dark Dimension 7, maybe this might push you to want to get there a little bit quicker. Especially since we have things like the Spotlight Raid difficulty 1, for those of you who are progressing through that, launching today as well. So more red gear coming to the game, of course, through the Spotlight Raids. Whole completely separate conversation over there about, the whole raid and Alpha Flight and all that. I'm not here to talk about that today, though. That's going to be a separate video. But anyways, we're here to talk about the changes to Mephisto and why this has happened. So if you're ready to go, let's boil this down. So before we get started, I do want to admit that I am not the foremost expert on Mephisto. Not only do I not have him, his kit is so dense that getting through it and memorizing what he does is very, very difficult. That being said, I did talk to some of the envoys who helpfully helped guide me into understanding these changes. We were aware of this a little bit before it went live, maybe about an hour at most, honestly. They just kind of sprung this blog. Hey, by the way, there's a blog coming here. Here it is. Go check it out. So, yeah. Let's talk about it, though. So we've been reviewing the impacts that Mephisto has been making on the game since he launched, and we've decided to make some updates to his kit. When we developed Mephisto, we wanted players to be able to choose which empowered ability they'd use in battle. So if you don't know how his kit functions, basically when he loads in, you're able to choose one of 3 packs, basically. Although, as an AI on the defense, he's always choosing the third one, which is applying exhaust to the enemy team. So this part is getting a bit of a change because I guess they can't change the AI, right? Because the AI will always opt to do the ultimate attack, which in this case, is in the 3rd position, right? And so this particular one is. But when you're playing with Mephisto, you can choose some of the other ones. That's basically how it works. And he gets that at the beginning. Like, it's an instant turn that he takes when he loads in. He does this. You might have noticed it in the Old Man Logan trial on node 10 at the very end, that when he drops in on his wave, he basically exhausts right away. Like, that's what happens, right? So you can't really use Black Knight's charge mechanic against him in battle. So let's jump back to the blog. So when we've developed, we wanted to make blah, blah, blah. This flexibility feels great in the hands of the player while on offense, as each ability has different use cases when they're most optimal. However, lackluster when Mephisto's on defense because, he defaults to that empowered ultimate, the one with the exhaust. We're updating his kit, focusing on improving his consistency and staying power while on defense. So I gotta say, after reading this, it's actually really crazy what's going to happen now, especially for those who have him, but those who might be getting him in the near future. So we're updating his kit, focusing on consistency. This means Mephisto will be more powerful. However, his power and utility will be befitting a character obtained from the Dark Dimension. This is going to be going live tomorrow. So they're updating his stats across the board. This is quite extensive. It's not in the damage category, but definitely in the survivability. Health 50%, armor 50%, resistance 50%, and then of course focus 50%. I don't know if he needs that or not. Like I've not used him, so I don't know if he suffers from any of these, but nonetheless, he's getting insane survivability stats. And keep in mind, for any future content down the line, right, this also does mean that when you fight against Mephisto, if they ever decide to use him again, it's going to be pretty crazy. So his kit is insane, right? Like it's quite extensive. I'm just going to cover the new stuff. So his special Hellfire Blast, it no longer applies taunt to himself. It does have a call out to villains or adding taunt to villain characters. It's no longer going to do it to him if he's the only one, or if he is the one with the highest health. So I guess that was causing him to get attacked, and then brings into question some of the survivability aspects. Now his ultimate, super extensive. The kit is so long, so I mean you can read it here, but I just want to talk about the new stuff that's added to it. Is this attack is unavoidable and cannot be blocked. So I guess maybe he could have been blinded, or maybe I don't know, maybe Spider Weaver's charges would cause him to miss or some other things. Maybe you could blind him. Who knows? I don't know why they added this in. Again, I'm not an expert on Mephisto, but fine, whatever. Now it's automatically going to hit everyone. Empowered ultimate debilitating pack. So this is the exhaust thing that we were talking about. So what's new is that on defense, apply exposed to the 2 mythic enemies with the highest health. Now, this is really interesting for 2 reasons. One is that Mephisto's base mechanic when it comes to exposed means that enemies cannot gain speed bar through mechanics. So when you use Apocalypse's ult, for example, he's not going to get the 100% turn bar. Super Skrull isn't going to get turn bar when he has exposed with Mephisto because of that. And so things like that is and the time platform from Doom as well. Now, if you have him in conjunction with Super Skrull, now you guys might remember the Super Skrull, his exposed mechanic stops people from having safeguard. So if you have them both on the same team, I don't know, maybe in Crucible, probably in Arena though as well, then they can't get safeguard. So it's a combination of can't get turn bar, can't get safeguard. You know, if you're using them together and having the two mythic enemies with the highest damage, or sorry, highest health. But let's be honest, that's going to be Super Skrull. It actually very well could be Mephisto as well if you're Mephisto versus Mephisto, and Super Skrull probably would be second. It could also be Apocalypse though, right? So it's going to be like 2 of those 3 characters depending on who you're going up against. Now his passive is also getting a little bit of a buff as well, and not entirely sure how I feel about this, but basically what's new on spawn, if this character is not a clone, gain 666 speed until his first turn. If this character has any mythic enemies, gain charge. But specifically, he gets this even. So I don't think this part was changed, but it's this the designer's note. He can now gain it if he spawned with exhausted. So before, I'm pretty sure it says something about here. And did not spawn with exhausted, become empowered. Right? So now he does this all the time. This is specific to places like War Defense and Crucible Defense, especially Crucible Defense, because apparently what people were telling me was that you could basically sack the team and then go in for a second and then kill them. Because if they had exhaust, then it was very easy to get through, is what I'm told. I've also been told that Cabal, Kang, Titania has also been able to clear this in a one-shot. That's just what I've been told. I mean, I've never really played against them or played with them, so I'm just going by what I heard, and that's apparently a thing. So now he's going to be an absolute brick wall because he's gaining all this. They removed the exhaust parts, so he's basically getting this all the time. There is no sacking for Mephisto because he's going to be able to pull out the packs every single time. So if that kind of makes you want to push for Mephisto and push for Red Gear even more because he's going to be such an insane wall in especially places like Crucible, then now's your chance, I guess. And then we have the empowered passive in the details. This kind of, again, I don't really know like what this kind of does in terms of the grand scheme of things or why they added it in. But when this character loses empowered, clear vulnerable from self and all allies. I'm thinking this might be a Crucible thing as well with Cabal, that it clears vulnerable from self and all allies. Because Cabal, I forget who it does. Maybe it's Iron Patriot, who applies the vulnerability to the entire team on spawn. Right? So maybe this is the whole point, is that when this character loses empowered, when he does his pack thing, clear vulnerable from self and all allies. So that's going to happen basically because he's going to go first. So that's what's going to happen there. And then this part here, when he does do that and he loses empowered, you know, all these things happen. And then apply trauma, defense down, offense down, 3 bleed to all enemies, and this gains 1,000% extra focus, is unavoidable, and cannot be blocked or counterattacked. So basically, they're just buffing the shit out of Mephisto, but they're buffing him on the defense aspect primarily, is because apparently he was just too busy, too easy to beat, or you could just exhaust him and it was even easier to beat. And Krakens are mad. Krakens and Cthulhu's are mad that their investment is not as powerful as they were before. So this was not something that I heard brought up in Envoy chat, because really I think there's only like one person maybe that has availability of Mephisto, and I think that's Dorky Dad, and nobody else really has him to play with. So we haven't really, this isn't something that we've discussed personally, but it's a change that happened nonetheless. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Does this change your mind about how fast you're going to push for Mephisto? It is going to make him a lot more powerful, and I guess his staying power longevity is going to go up, especially in those game modes where, exhaust was a thing, especially in Crucible and War Defense. Anyways, that's it for now. Tomorrow we have the blog post, of course. So until then, I'll see you there. I gotta stay safe and happy and stay safe and healthy and all that stuff, right? I'll see you on Friday. Boilon signing out.